Okay.
All right, I call to order the August 12th, 2026 Albany County Planning and Zoning Commissioners regular meeting. Roll call. Greg? Here. Ralph?
Here.
Barb?
Here.
Vern?
Here, can you hear me?
We can hear you. And
Okay,
I'm here.
very good.
Record, we will note that Vern's in Spain right now. We're at 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so we're all here. Move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there anyone who'd like to move to amend the agenda or also approve it?
I would like to amend the agenda to add a discussion after we deal with everything about what we learned about data centers over the last few days.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
All right, and we will do that if we approve this right above item 6, staff updates. So all those in favor say aye.
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 That motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for July 8th, 2026?
I move that we approve the minutes from last meeting. I read through and I read fine to me.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, that motion carries also. Greg, do you have anything to disclose?
No.
Vern?
None, thank you.
Barb?
No.
Ralph?
No.
I will just mention that I had a friendly talk with Dr. Kaguri out at his storage site back in early June. That was before I was aware of this application or the purchase of this property that we're going to take a look at later. And there were no conflicts of interest, but I just want to mention that. In that case, we will move on to the Kaguri Zoning District Amendment, ZDA, that's 03-26. David.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of commission. Dr. Kaduri is the applicant for this project. He's requesting to change 57 acres from ranchette to commercial. The location of this property is along Soldier Springs Road and Rosedale Road. Property is addressed 1470 or 37 Rosedale Road. The area includes a mix of ranchette, commercial, and agricultural zoning. There's a mix of residential, commercial, and agricultural land uses in the area. Buildings on the south, there are buildings on the south end of the property, and then there's a drainage that crosses the northeast portion of the property. A number of folks reviewed this. I'll just kind of go through the ones that stood out. Laramie Rivers Conservation District, Martin Curry, Senior Resource Specialist, noted that landowners should take care to minimize disturbance of the property. Disturbed areas should be reclaimed quickly using native grass and shrub species. The Laramie Rivers Conservation District can provide recommendations for appropriate native grass species and planting methods. And USDA web soil survey information indicates that the lower elevation portions of the property are rated very limited for building development due to the shallow groundwater and seasonal surface water flows. I'm guessing that's being talked about, that northeast portion where that drainage goes across.
Yeah.
And then any other information on that review was included. Wyoming Game and Fish, Will Schultz, Habitat Protection Supervisor, noted the area is outside of delineated crucial habitat. He did recommend avoiding fencing that restricts big game or using of wildlife-friendly fencing. He also noted to mitigate any invasive species in the area, to clean vehicles and equipment before construction, and coordinate with the weed and pests to plan on a plan to assess, treat, and monitor invasive species. City of Laramie Planning Manager, Philip Gabatuller, provided comments as well, recommending denial based on the future development, saying that the future development of the property should follow a state residential future land use designation of Laramie Growth Area Plan. So my analysis, So the commercial zoning district would allow uses that are compatible with the surrounding commercial development that's already in the area. The property does have direct access to a paved county road. It's maintained by the county. It's also in close proximity to Laramie, so that provides efficient access to emergency services, fire department, sheriff's office, all of that. So, and then the applicant addressed the potential impacts associated with the zoning amendment. Allowed uses are generally compatible with the surrounding land uses, minimizing potential conflicts and supporting a logical growth pattern. So the comprehensive plan, the proposal is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan goals of economic development, growth, efficiency. Commercial zoning would support additional business investment and potential expansion or potentially expand the county tax base. Priority growth area 3 is where this is located and identifies potential for small convenience oriented commercial uses. Also, the rural commercial land use, the property has access to paved county maintained road and is near a future major arterial intersection. Domestic wells and small wastewater systems can provide those services that are needed for commercial development out there. The proposal also supports a logical expansion of commercial development and is generally consistent with the intent of rural commercial designation. The Laramie growth area plan. So although the designation is estate residential, the property is adjacent to neighborhood commercial and would provide a logical extension of that area. Land use or the proposal extends an existing commercial development pattern rather than creating an isolated commercial use and is compatible with surrounding land uses. Staff recommends approval of this application and would be happy to answer any questions.
Barb, you have anything?
Yes, I have a question. The proposal is proposing a few bathrooms for the septic system and not a dump station or anything like that as part of the construction.
So this is a request for commercial zoning. So that information would be provided at the time that they developed the property and they built the buildings and went that way forward. My assumption would be, and I'm not sure if applicant is here, is that they would use a small wastewater system, a septic system for domestic sewage that's created on the property. So.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up on Bob's question? One of the neighbors that is opposing this or sent us a letter opposing this mentioned the need to empty the sewage storage within RVs that would be brought for storage. That seems like it will be require a big wastewater system.
So at the zoning district amendment, we're just considering commercial, abstractly. We're not considering a specific development or a specific land use, but really any land use that could potentially be within the commercial zoning district. That any use of it would be at the zoning certificate stage.
So, and I would just follow up, if they went forward to develop something like that, they would need to talk with the county and potentially the state on taking care of the wastewater. But yeah, as Matt said, we're not really looking at that at this stage. But if this were approved and permits started coming in, those are the questions that would need to be answered.
Anything else, Barb?
No.
Vern?
I'm good, thank you.
Ralph?
So my question is, I didn't understand from the maps that is the plan for converting the entire 57 acres so that the whole 57 acres will become commercial?
The proposal is for the entire lot, yes, of 57 acres.
That's a very large area.
It is a large area, that is true.
So,
That's it.
correct?
The opposing letter, if they're gonna put up an 80 by 200 foot building, 20 feet tall, there's nothing, once this is approved, there's nothing saying they can't put up 10 of those or 15 of those. And that seems to be the concern here. Is there a restriction on that or?
Well, they'll have to get a zoning certificate and go through that process. What the use, whatever they're using it for has to conform to the allowed standards in a commercial zoning district. If it doesn't, it may be a conditional use, and then in that case, they would come back to you. But if it is allowed, it would be just a zoning certificate to do that. So they wouldn't have to come before you, and there really isn't a limitation, no.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just want to note that something you mentioned, I do believe that northeast corner, if I have the directions right, of the parcel is in fact, it could include some sort of wetland. I just wanted to note that. So is the applicant here or his representative? In that case, I'm going to suggest we table this for next month. Going back in time about a year ago, I'm not positive I have the right application in mind, but I think it was an Olson application up north of town. Either the applicant or a representative was present. We went and considered that. After the fact, I thought that was the wrong decision, that I should have moved to table it. And that's why I suggest we do now. So is there a motion to dispose this for the time being, to table it?
I motion that we table this for the time being.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'll conduct a roll call vote then.
Could we discuss the motion or is it tabling?
Oh, yes, yes, we can, absolutely.
But I mean, unless that's a non-debatable motion.
Do you have something you want to say?
This is scheduled for a public hearing, so you'll need to hear from the public before it's tabled.
Okay, fair enough. So we will hear from the public and then we'll discuss the motion. Vern. Okay, we will conduct a public hearing now. So any member of the public who is here who wishes to make a comment on this application, you may step forward.
I guess I'd like to ask some questions about it.
Please step forward and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Aletha Garson, I have a property that's right just south of the radio station and borders this piece. Have a large concern about this, just with the amount of people and that will be there. Bought a place so I could be out of town. I know you guys think there's no wildlife there. When I was living there, I rented out now.
Don't make any assumptions about that. We might have very diverse opinions about
A
whether
lot
there's
of
wildlife out there or not.
fox, rabbits, I mean, some antelope. There's wildlife on that place. And I think that if you go in and make it all concrete, you're gonna take away their habitat. Concerned about where they're gonna put the sewage and water development. My water comes from a well, and if they're gonna have their sewer right there feeding into my water, that's not ideal for myself or the people living there. I guess just a lot of questions. I did read the letter on the that they wrote, and I know that they're gonna start small and then build, but I never did understand which side they're gonna start on. Are they gonna start on the south or the west or?
We can't answer those questions for you. But if that's your comment.
You can't answer those questions.
No, we can't. Or David might.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just say, the proposal is to change the zoning of the property, so there's not any development proposal at this time. I mean, they mentioned it in their application, but the application is to change the zoning only. So any development would be from further permits in the future.
So they will have to come to and ask you guys again.
Well, they'll come to, the planning department to ask about those things. They'd have to get a permit for any wastewater or buildings on the property. It wouldn't necessarily have to be in the public forum.
So this is my last chance to. Can I write a letter opposing?
Absolutely.
So just to the planning department?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public who wishes to comment? Please step forward.
My name is Roger Schaefer. We're the owners of the property that KLWB sits on, which is on the edge of this.
Oh, okay, right.
And so we're, the only concern we have, we're in the process right now of renegotiating a lease with KLWB for another 5 years. The only concern we would have, there's towers there.
Right.
And so we would be concerned about the transmission of the towers. And it's above my pay grade, to talk about whether there would be any effects on transmission or not. That would have to be something that, the radio engineers or whatever could talk about. That would be our biggest concern, just if that was a problem.
Well, I'm glad you're here to express that concern because I'm sure David's paying attention.
Okay. That's all I could say.
Anyone else?
Thank you, sir.
Hearing and seeing no one else, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Okay, Vern, we will discuss our motion to table this until next month.
Yeah, assuming that the motion to table is debatable, and I don't mean to debate it much, but just to clarify, the way that sequence came down, it was strongly implied that your motion to table was because the applicant, neither the applicant nor his representative is there. Is that the intent of the tabling was?
That's
because they're
absolutely
not-
correct.
Okay, just so then they're on notice to do that. And then the public is on notice that we will take this up again and they should reappear and we will have a proper wide-ranging debate, if I understand correctly. Is that the
Yeah.
idea? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, David?
Dr. Kaduri is coming in the door.
Yes.
Okay, well, we've just been informed that Dr. Fedori is on his way in, so we will not move to,
I guess, wait.
very good. We're back and forth. And
Formally withdraw the motion.
yeah, I'm withdrawing the motion. If we now hear from the applicant, does that mean we should reopen the public hearing again?
I think you should.
Okay, we'll do that. Very good. So Dr. Kaduri, we have heard staff give their report and we have perhaps some questions for you. Okay, so would you please have questions? Yeah. And we will begin with Rolf.
Yes. Thank you. My question is about actually the intent of 57 acres is a huge area. And I understand that you want to make it into a storage of boats and RVs and so on and so forth. And so and there is a wetland at the north end of south end of the property.
The northeast side of the property.
Yeah, so my question is, you're aware of the fact that you may need a very large wastewater system there to deal with emptying RVs and all that?
Oh, no, like, I don't plan on doing like an RV park or anything. My intent is to just store like dry storage. That's my intent. Maybe 1 or 2 buildings with the steel buildings on facing the Soldier Spring Road. That could be used more like indoor storage, and like everything else should be just like dry storage. Like most of my friends in the city, they park their stuff in the side of the streets and it becomes unsafe because when we are driving around, we can't see who is crossing. So I have several friends that requested to park stuff in the 15 acres. And I can't say no to them. A lot of them are parking like in that 15 acres, it's just overwhelming the situation. So that's what I thought. I should just like ask for permission if that's okay to park there instead of here. So a lot of people are using that 15 acres, like the Skyline like road, the one we built the steel buildings. I left a big parking lot there. Every time I go there, like there is like an RV and a boat and everything parked there. And I asked one of the tenants, okay, well, whose is this? And they say, oh, one of my friends is begging to just park overnight and all that. So I just felt like maybe if I don't overwhelm that space and use the other space, if approved by you guys, would be better space than disturbing the businesses and all that that are currently running over the Skyline Road.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. Okay.
So you have no intention
All right,
of,
let's go around.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, my bad.
Barb,
I don't have any questions.
Vern,
Yeah, just a couple. When did you buy this property?
Like around 3 months ago.
Oh, and why did you buy it?
I just bought it as an investment, I want to park my money for my retirement.
Okay, thank you.
great.
So you don't have any intention of having people come out there, empty their,
No.
they have to have that done before they get there to.
Oh yeah, this is like storing stuff that they don't use, not parking in the city streets instead. I have at least 10 people that are using the business park right now. They are parking on the side, like right now they're RVs and stuff.
Mhm.
And I don't want them to park there. And they said, oh, we'll pay you and all that. I said $40 a month or whatever. But I said, it's just overwhelming because there's 20 tenants using that 10 acres or 8 acres of space. I just thought this is reasonable to ask if this is not a big pain. And then I know there are a few concerns from my neighbors. I would like to also address their concerns about the gas stations and stuff. I have no intent of signing up to anything because I'm also busy doing some things. I just don't want to run a day-to-day business operating there, sitting there full time. Me and my wife both are pediatricians. We are very conservative in terms of not disturbing the place. We always want to leave a place better than what we found. Never have intent to cause trouble to the neighbors or anything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, I might have a question here.
So
And I'm gonna give you permission not to have to answer this question if you want to, because we're actually only supposed to be considering the zoning itself, not any actual purpose. That's supposed to be a split second purpose, but you do have a site plan, your map, and just so, again, you don't have to answer this if you want to. Right now, your intent is to build a building, and then the site plan shows basically a ring road. And that's a common storage, correct? All right, well, thank you for answering that. That's all I have. Okay, so we will conduct another public hearing for anyone who, now that Dr. Kaduri is here, would like to make a comment again. Do either the two people who spoke earlier wish to speak again? Go ahead.
Sir?
Understand, however, you are allowed to make a comment. You're not here to ask questions.
I can't ask questions? Okay. If you want to go, you need to go up to them. I guess I live out there on Silver Springs, just south of it.
And excuse me, you have to address us.
Oh,
You can come closer.
well, I want him to be able to hear because I am talking to him.
Well, I would ask you to stand at the lectern also.
Can I stand?
He'll
like
be able to
this?
hear you.
Okay. Just south of the railroad station's my place. Concerned about.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I want you to address the commission.
You have to address the commission by law.
I understand you want to talk to Kaduri and maybe he'll talk to you after the fact, but you need to address us.
Okay. Concerned about the wildlife that's in that area. I guess the proximity of just everything. If you're storing RVs, you're gonna have some that are dripping oil and some that are dripping gas, and if they don't get everything drained real good, they're gonna be draining septic. And I guess I just concerned with the environment out there and the health of the soil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sir, would you also like to?
I'm Brad Schaefer with Schaefer Place LLC, and we actually, like I say, we have the property of the radio station. We're just mostly concerned of possible building anything that might hinder the transmission from the towers, depending upon how close they are. The building might be to those towers. And, cause we are currently renegotiating a lease with, Town Square Media for another 5 years. And we want to make sure that we don't have issues with the transmission of, because all of a sudden they build something that might interfere with that. And, so that's kind of where we stand with this thing as far as our concerns.
Okay, thank you again.
I
Yeah.
have a question.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Would you, if the plan for the development comes back and it shows that it won't hurt your operation, would you have any objections to it?
Well, the one thing we don't know is we really, like my brother said, we don't know what would interfere with their transmissions. I mean, if they build a building real close there and it was, and they had towers on that building, would that interfere with the transmission of, there's 3 large radio towers there. And if it depends upon how close they build, what they build, how high it is and everything, we don't know. You would have to probably talk with Town Square Media. Their engineers might have a better idea what might cause problems with their transmissions. And, but, you know, we don't know. I mean, we own the property, but those towers are what broadcast their radio station, and we don't know what would potentially cause problems. So I don't, we did inform them of this situation that it had been acquired, and they were trying to change the zoning on it to commercial. And so that they knew what was going on. And I don't know, like I said, I didn't know if they would have a representative here to state their case or not either. And maybe they will if we go further with this or whatever. So,
Well, I'll just say, I'll suggest that any concerns I may have, and you may have, take them up with our planning director,
okay.
and you'd be the appropriate person to discuss it.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, we're a little lost with it. We're just kind of helping. Like I say, we're in negotiations with them, but we don't really know how it could affect them, if at all. But, you know, so that's where we stand. So,
Understood.
okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Please come forward. Tell us who you are.
Aaron stays. I wasn't really planning on talking about this. This is the first I heard about it, but I do own property in the county. And I have had property in the county shared with my mother since 2011, and I lived in Laramie, born and raised in Laramie, went to school here, and now came back to the university. Since moving to the county, and we only have a very small portion of property, we've seen increasing development in the area, and it's not close to this. It's in a different part of the county. But accompanying any increasing development, even private homes on as small as half an acre, we've seen a radical increase in invasive plants. And so I would advocate to be cautious about any new development, disturbances, driving, building, because we've seen Russian knapweed, we've seen tumbleweeds, we've seen yellow toadflax. We particularly live in our area because we are trying to avoid exposure to pesticides. My father died of pesticide exposure. And so we don't use pesticides to combat the invasive plants on our property. I go out every summer and I hand pull. And in 10 years, it has improved so much so that the counties will threaten to come out and use pesticides on my property. I keep it under control, but I would be cautious of approving development that could increase that problem anywhere in our counties. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to comment? Dr. Curry?
Thank you. So I did get this concern about the radio towers from one of my friends, and I did do some due diligence of what would cause trouble and all that. Did speak to one of the radio engineers, and he said since this particular radio station broadcasts towards north, and I don't own any property towards the north, so it should not interfere anything. But this is like a preliminary kind of report I have. And like I said, I don't have any intention to hurt anybody, including my neighbors. So I think I'll be reasonable to with them, not to build anything anywhere close to any.
Okay, thank you. But is there anyone else? May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move we close the public hearing.
I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Vern?
Aye.
I vote aye also. That motion carries. Okay, so I believe now we are prepared to discuss this item. Vern, why don't you begin?
Mr. Chair, given that I'm coming in remotely and sometimes it's a little fractured, I've kind of prepared a statement. Is that appropriate? I'll just go through that and see where we
Yeah,
are.
we actually hear you quite well, so thanks
Okay,
for that.
that's good. I think the visual that goes along with this is the zoning map, and that's what this is all about. So as far as, I don't know what you guys are seeing, but I'd like you to be looking at the zoning maps that was included in the packet. Is that, whether that needs to be broadcast to all the rest of us or not, but does that make sense? Since that's what we're going to talk about, just the surrounding zones and so forth, I was wondering if
Jory, can you bring that map up?
Yeah, we'll
if
do
we
it.
could bring that map up.
Yeah, you can continue talking as much as you can anyway, and David's trying to bring that up now.
Okay. Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is starts with Dr. Kaduri's recently rezoned property and then runs on south through this one. Yeah, okay, good. That's the one I want to look at. Okay, so just a quick background. Planning and zoning is about developing a long-term vision for the county. That's the planning part, and then turning that into land use maps and regulations. That's the zoning part. Our job here today is to advise the county commission on the zoning part. We also look at the specific land. We also look at specific land use applications. That's not what we're doing here, but like subdivisions, and there all the heavy lifting is done by our staff. And the engineers make sure that the grades of the road are correct and that there's access to the acres and the drainage has been discussed and so forth. So most of the assessment of a specific application is done by staff. And as long as the applicant is within the parameters of their zoning, we have much more restricted discretion in terms of our approval or denial. And my point of that is that these zoning decisions is really where the rubber meets the road. And that's the place where I think we were all appointed to bring our various backgrounds and input into the advising of the county commissioners. So we have a wide discretion in our subjective judgments on how and where the county guides development. And there's no cookbook criteria or scoring sheet that says you're in if this and you're out if that. It is really largely quite subjective in terms of how a particular application conforms with our land use plans. And so here we are talking about drawing lines in the zoning, and the general concept of zoning is that the county has stood back and said, we want to do residential over here, we want to do commercial over here, we want to do industrial over there. And in order to advance the county development in an orderly and systematic way for the welfare of our citizens. Then if we can draw a line, of course, you have to decide where one land use stops and another one starts. And that's often a challenge. You got to draw the line somewhere, and that's true of regulations, and that's always difficult. But that is what is before us in this application. So the first point I'd make is one that we've emphasized before. We are not being asked to approve an RV storage facility within an existing commercial zone. We are being asked to redraw the existing line between commercial land uses and residential agricultural land uses to move 57 acres from residential to commercial use. So we should remind ourselves that a commercial zoning, this is picking up on a statement was made earlier, allows by right, and you don't get a second bite at the apple. So we don't get to say, oh, we didn't really like that particular proposal. If it's within the parameters of the zone, then one has the right to do that with very little modification from us. You look at our land use table in commercial zones includes wrecker services, I'm just quoting from the land use table, bowling alleys, nurseries, hotels, lumber yards, TV stations, supermarkets, vet clinics, RV parks, and not necessarily RV storage facilities, And all of that is what is then encompassed within a commercial designation. And all of that is what we are potentially improving. Interesting that Mr. Kaduri just bought this land 3 months ago. He could walk out of the meeting today and sell it to someone with very, very different plans. So we need to make that decision based on the zoning. Now, where do we look for guidance for that decision? Is to our land use plans. Those are guidance, not commandments, as our staff points out to it. But the point is that the county has addressed these kinds of issues in a general sense before and come up with guidance from which, when I do that, I come up with the opposite conclusion from staff. So let's just go through those quickly. The first thing to consider is our existing zoning. At some point, the county tagged this parcel as most appropriately developed for residential use. Now, to be fair, that wasn't part of a comp plan. Our zoning precedes our comp plan, or at least portions of it do. So it's something of a stretch to say we thought it all very carefully through and tagged this as residential. It was more of an inventory, but still there was a policy statement made that the county liked things the way they were, and let's hang on to that unless we have a good reason to change it. And we should have that change. The residential and ag zones should not be just considered holding patterns until we come up with something better to do with the parcel. Those are an affirmative statement of what we think is best, what the county thinks is best used. Now, I thought it was interesting that the applicant himself identified the value of the existing zoning. For quoting from the application, anything left over from the development of the 57 acres, quote, will be preserved in its natural state, maintaining wildlife habitat, natural drainage patterns, and rural open space character. Good points all. So why are we offering to change those good points? Mr. Kaduri bought the land under residential zoning from last month's important Wyoming Supreme Court decision, I'll quote, an expectation that property may be subdivided or rezoned in the future is not a vested property right. One has a property right only in existing land uses and not in prospective land uses. So we are not depriving the applicant of anything that they have by leaving the zoning as is. Okay, now let's look at the comp plan. That's a more formal statement, an affirmative statement of what the county goals and objectives were. As Mr. Gersh pointed out, this is in priority growth area 3, quote, will be generally large lots, single-family homes, possibly with small convenience-oriented commercial uses. A 57-acre RV and boat storage facility is not a small convenience-oriented use in my book. Now, the comp plan identifies some rural commercial land use nearby as a possibility, but there again, it's for small commercial businesses that cater primarily to users from the surrounding areas. I'm quoting from the report. Buildings should be small scale to relate to surrounding residences. Again, this does not describe a 57-acre rezoning from residential to commercial. Third, we have the Laramie Area Growth Plan, which was adopted by the county a couple of years ago, I guess. In that plan, the county affirmatively tagged this area as appropriate for estate residential. Now, the staff report notes that there in the growth plan also talks about neighborhood commercial in the area to the west, but even so, this is not neighborhood commercial project. Finally, the staff report points out that the major street plan approved by the county foresees a someday extension of 15th Street south in the direction of this property. That's true. But this parcel would lie east and south of that extension, and 15th Street, like Soldier Springs and the railroad, is a logical and orderly place to transition from commercial uses to the west and then residential uses to the east. So all this goes to the compatibility with the previously adopted land use plans and to compatibility with the surrounding land use. The staff report points to a couple of small commercially zoned lots nearby, those are the red ones on the map you're looking at, and says the majority of the north half of the property abuts commercial zone property to the west. Well, that's not even correct as written. If you chop the north half off, there's a piece that's commercial, it's residential and agricultural. When I run the numbers, On abutting properties, 78% of the abutting property is either residential or agricultural. Agriculture, the biggest piece, the one off to the east there, is far and away the biggest one. Then I would also point out that if touching a particular zone is adequate reason to do the rezone, then you really don't have any lines at all. You just set yourself up for a step-by-step chewing through the county. This one's commercial, that justifies the next one being commercial, that justifies the next one being commercial. And all you've done, instead of drawing lines between your commercial industrial areas and your residential areas, is say, we're going to move that line piece by piece, like Pac-Man chewing his way through the county. Now, the staff report has chosen to stand on this particular parcel and look west across Soldier Springs Road and across the railroad tracks, where one finds arguably compatible use. But if one stands on the property and looks east or north or south, they see open ground, just the sort of land in its natural state that the applicant himself praises. Finally, I would point out that we were faced with a very similar, much smaller application by this applicant just last October. In that case, it was anchored by a small piece of commercial, the mini golf course there on the corner of 15th and Skyline, and he asked to rezone the 12 acres immediately south of that from residential to commercial. And that's that kind of Utah-shaped piece that's just one parcel removed north of the one we're looking at. This commission split 2-2 on the application. One of the reasons I was interested in attending the meeting was so that we avoided a potential tie, which was inconvenient for everybody. One side in that discussion was looking at our land use plans and the existing city neighborhood on South 18th Street. That's the part in gray that you see off to the east there. And we argued that the 15th Street was the logical break in zoning. The other side, noting that the commercial zoning had already jumped 15th Street with the golf course, 12 acres wasn't that big a deal, and the county commission ultimately went along with the rezoning. I continue to think that Soldier Springs Road and the railroad and the present and future 15th Street are logical and appropriate boundaries for commercial and industrial zones to the west and residential zones to the east. The earlier testimony by Mr. Kaduri was a little bit disappointing to me in that it seemed so casual. He's having difficulty maintaining discipline of who parks on the 15 acres north. So let's go ahead and throw in another 57 acres of commercial property. Now, maybe I'm casting that as too casual, but I did not hear in that any compelling reason that we should take 57 acres out of residential zoning and turn it into commercial zoning. So consistent with the existing zoning, with the adopted county comprehensive plan, with the adopted Laramie area growth plan, and I would argue even with the adopted major street plan, I agree with comments we've received from both the neighbors who attended here this evening and those who've written to us. And I would point out that the city of Laramie is itself a very important neighbor in this area. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that ZDA 0306 be recommended for denial based on incompatibility with the comprehensive plan, the growth plan, and the land uses in the great majority of the surrounding area. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, well, is there a second for this motion?
A second.
Okay, we will have further discussion then, having a motion on the table that has been seconded. Ralph?
Yes, I have a question for the staff. The thing that jumped to me as a problematic was the size, the 57 acre. That's a huge area, even for parking hundreds and hundreds of RVs. What are the chances of subdivision? Well, is there a way to subdivide the lot to make it only partial commercial? What's the options?
Yeah, absolutely. They could request a subdivision. Right now, the way that it stands, they could actually get 11 lots out of that ranchette area, which again is not, just to point out, that wouldn't meet what the growth plan is purporting. They're wanting to have three dwellings per lot, which it wouldn't meet that, so, you know, just point that out. But yeah, they could divide it, yeah, that's something that they could do. Obviously have to do engineering and surveying and all that stuff and do the reports that are required to do that. And then obviously has to go through this process and be approved formally by the Board of County Commissioners. But that's an option.
That's an option. Okay.
Anything else? Barb?
I agree with Maraz and actually Burn. For one, I think that's a huge lot to develop commercially.
Anything else?
No.
Greg?
I think it is way too much to develop commercially, and it's a huge change over the area. It was originally residential, it's a residential now. That's what people are used to, and I'm not sure I have the right view on this, but I do believe that I'm here to represent what I hear from the people and the public and what I see and what I think is right and wrong. I don't think this entire 57 acres is a good idea to have it commercial. If it was a smaller portion, it might be more manageable from the standpoint of how many large buildings. One of the concerns was they're putting an 80 by 200-foot building. It's 20 feet high now. And it says for starters or something along those lines. I can understand not wanting to see 25 or 30 buildings out there on 57 acres or even more. So I think this is too much land to change over to commercial.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Well, I'm going to offer a slightly different perspective. I'll say that had this come before us 12 months ago or even 6 months ago, I would have been inclined to automatically say or recommend denial of this based purely on the Laramie growth area plan. What it shows is a state residential. But there's a problem with that. The growth plan was adopted 3 years ago. And at some point, it either needs to be implemented or not. And at some point, enough time has passed by when if it's not implemented, I question whether it has any applicability today. And so I wonder about that. And it was 3 years ago, right? I think it was adopted in August 3 years ago.
Sure.
I think it's right. Well, I'm looking to you if I'm wrong. No, you don't have to look it up. And the last significant action that I can remember having been taken on the growth area plan was an IGA agreement that went to the county commissioners for either approval or acceptance or decline. They declined to sign that document. And as far as I'm aware, nothing has happened since then. I mean, is that more or less correct, David? I mean, has there been any work on a new IGA, either from county or the city?
No, it's still being talked about from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, to your point that the implementation hasn't necessarily occurred. We are using it to analyze these projects that come through the door. So it's not that it's not being used.
Well, the plan as originally conceived was in three parts. The basic first part was the conceptual plan, which was adopted. The IGA, which is supposed to follow on, which is supposed to lead to implementation in the regulations. And a granular analysis of a map to determine exactly where these different zonings actually physically, were delineated by zoning property boundaries. Right now, we have a conceptual map where, like the Kaduri property is clearly in the middle of a state residential, but we don't know where that state residential zoning area actually ends. And I'll come back to that. We have the county commissioners at all given you any kind of direction to move up the plan or do anything at all in the past year?
No.
No. And have you heard anything from senior leadership from the city, which I would include the city manager, mayor, or city council?
Nothing like official. No.
Yeah. So, I mean, if nothing substantive has happened in over a year now, and there's nothing ongoing right now, and there's no realistic prospect that anything's gonna happen soon, or even the next year or 2 or 3 years, I wonder how we can use a plan in an adverse manner to a property owner who does enjoy property rights. And I'll point out 2 problems that exist as things stand right now, because this has not been implemented in regulation. You can compare a property that's in the middle of one of these zonings, in this case, Dr. Converge property, where it's clearly in the Laramie growth area plan identified as future estate residential, versus a similar property at the edge of this zoning district. And how do you determine whether or not that's in or out? It's pretty clear to me that those 2 properties would be handled in a potentially disparate manner. They would have to be. And I don't think that's fair. And then if this plan were fully implemented at some point in the future, there would be in regulation some process for amending this map and revising it. And that's mentioned in the conceptual part of the plan that's been adopted right now by the city and the council. But presumably there would also be an element or mechanism whereby a property owner could seek relief for an amendment of the map as well, just like as we have now, to do the same with the zoning district amendment in our current resolution for county property. Right now, there's no prospect of that. So if Dr. Kaduri wanted to amend the map right now, or some other property owner seeking to gain approval for some sort of development, what do? They're in limbo. And again, I see that as quite unfair. And again, I just, as I started out, had it been 6 months ago or 12 months ago, I would have still had faith that something might happen. And I have been as big a proponent of the Laramie growth area plan as anyone, I think. But realistically, nothing is happening. And there's no realistic chance that anything's gonna happen anytime soon.
I am holding on, I'm
Yeah,
just
so you don't
letting
get
you know I
control.
have something to say.
Yeah. And I'll just say that personally, I think we're up to me. I would reserve this property for residential uses. I identify as property near to town. Once 15th Street is extended all the way out, it's an easy commute on bike, or I won't say easy on foot, but anyway on bike or whatnot to the center of town. And I think a storage facility like this could be just as well positioned 5 or 10 miles out somewhere where commute times don't matter. But if I set aside the Laramie growth area plan as a reason to look at this adversely, then I'm left with the findings. And you've made the findings, and you said all the findings have been satisfied. I thought your analysis was thorough and on point. And I will ask Matt, I presume you review all these applications and you look at the staff analysis?
I did in this instance, yeah.
You did. And did you have any problems or qualms with the findings, that whether they're met or not?
Yeah, those are really the policy determinations that are up to Planning and Zoning Commission and the board.
Well, my view was the analysis was solid, and that the application was an excellent application. And we've seen a lot of applications, and some are frankly fairly crude, but this is quite detailed. And I looked at the findings, and I think the findings are all met, and therefore, I believe we should recommend approval of this. You're gonna go ahead.
Thank you. So when we look at the growth plan, we look at what we are facing as a community. I think we need to take into account that we are facing a housing crisis. And every parcel of land that we convert from potential housing into something that is not housing, we are betraying our community. We are taking, a lot of people say, what can county commissioners do for housing? And my response to people who ask me that is, the county doesn't own a lot of land. We can't allocate land for housing. We can't build housing co-ops like they do in Teton County and other places. Albany County, the county doesn't own land. The only thing we can do is we can change the zoning to be more possible development as housing. And this is a classic case where we have the opportunity to turn a parcel of land into ranchettes, not high density, taking into account the neighbors' concerns, but also addressing some of the city of Laramie and Albany County housing crisis. So just based on that, I would say we should deny this application and encourage the owner to think about how can we do something to address the housing crisis. And just as an aside, we are working on creating these co-ops like now in Albany County and the city of Laramie, and trying to get funding mechanisms for them. So it may be a better approach for this parcel. Thank you.
Well, Bert, I'll
Mr.
tell you
Chair?
one thing, and then I'll recognize you. How about that? I think the price is a little bit overall. I would say housing is a problem, and otherwise agree with you. And I'll also point out that state residential is not an approach to affordable housing. So that's not going to solve much of anything in terms of affordable housing. Bert, please go ahead.
I didn't call it the housing crisis. It wasn't my wording. I'm just quoting.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Let me know that she was quoting housing crisis and
There are many who call it a crisis. No, but responding to your comments, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, I disagree. First of all, the Laramie Area Growth Plan is an adopted land use plan. And as Mr. Gersh pointed out, it's being implemented every day, just as the comprehensive plan is. Now, there are other things that could be done to implement it by, say, rezoning the county, but it stands as a fully authorized statement by the county commission saying this is how we want this to grow, like any other land use plan. So it is incorrect to say it is not being implemented. There's more one could do. If the county commissioners wanted to renounce the thing, they could do that by a simple vote. So it is incorrect to say that the Laramie Area Growth Plan is irrelevant to our decisions. It is, in fact, one of our guiding documents. Furthermore, and perhaps more importantly, we have the comprehensive plan itself that does not contemplate this being commercial. In fact, describes it as PGA 3, which is largely residential and large lot residential. We have PGAs 1 and 2 that are part of the plan. This isn't part of that. We have the existing zoning as we see on our map. So to suggest that the Laramie Area Growth Plan is the only reason not to just simply rezone things as some applicant comes forward, I say that's just incorrect. Now, as far as the staff analysis, I'm not arguing that they did an inadequate analysis, but virtually everything in that analysis is completely subjective. They didn't say, here's this and add 2, and we end up with 4. Their opinion was that this was compatible. My opinion is that it is not compatible, particularly given 57 acres, and particularly given the general land use patterns of the area, where we have commercial and industrial uses concentrated on the west side of Soldier Springs Road and the railroad. We have residential areas and open areas that we value highly in this county, extending completely to the crest of the mountain if we look to the east. We are fully capable and authorized to assess compatibility. And I encourage my fellow commissioners to assess that compatibility to be represented by the existing zoning, backed up by the comprehensive plan, the Laramie Area Growth Plan, if you care to use it, but it does not stand or fall on the status of the Laramie Area Growth Plan. So I would encourage a favorable vote on my motion. Thank you.
I'll just push back on one thing. I think it's clear that the plan provided to us by the consultants and adopted by the county envision implementation of this plan into regulation. And with that, I've said everything I feel I wanted to say. Is there any further discussion?
The other thing I'd like to add is we did, a couple months ago, we were talking about on Two Rivers Road, where we actually allowed to be smaller lots. And part of their argument or their presentation was we need to have more available areas for putting housing in. Low-cost housing is an oxymoron. It doesn't exist anymore with current costs. But having property that is residentially zoned gives people the opportunity to say, I want to live on the north side of town, or I want to live on the south side. And if we do away with that, we're closing down housing to people who may want to move here and make their lives here and their families' lives.
There.
That's all I had to say.
Anyone else? Okay, well, fair enough. We will conduct a vote. Roll call. Barb, how about you?
Do we need to read?
I vote to deny the.
Wait, we need to read the actual. legal-
Yes, we do. Thank you, Marov. Would you care to read that?
I will do that.
Yeah.
My motion included that, Mr. Chair.
It won't hurt to reread the motion anyway. Go ahead and if you agree with this, then we'll move forward, Bern.
Okay.
Yeah, it certainly won't hurt to make
Yeah,
sure we know
just
what
to
we're
make
voting
it,
on.
yeah, to make yours life easy. We recommend to the Board of County Commissioners deny the Kaduri zoning district amendment ZDA 0326 based upon the applicant's failure to demonstrate that the proposed zoning district amendment complies with the criteria specific to ACZR Chapter 3, Section 5. And I don't know which subsection it is, but as follows, this is a residential area or zone residential, and converting it into commercial will reduce housing potential for the county.
Okay, any questions about the motion?
No.
All right, Matt?
That does not get to any required finding, which is your basis for approval.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bernie, you had the correct
Okay,
section.
The motion that's on the floor, I guess we can craft it otherwise, was I move that ZDA 0326 be recommended for denial based on incompatibility with the comprehensive plan, with the growth plan, and with land uses in the great majority of the surrounding area.
Is that okay, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All
so
three
clear on
of
the
those.
motion?
Okay.
Yeah. So Barb, how do you vote?
I vote to deny the proposal.
Vern?
I vote yes on the motion, which is to deny the proposal.
We understand. Craig?
I vote yes on the motion.
Marov?
Yes.
And I vote no. So that motion carries. And thank you for everyone for your input.
Thank you.
Do we feel we need a break? No, we don't feel we need a break. All right. In that case, we will move on to the next item, which is the item we inserted, which we will have a bit of a discussion on data centers. This is not, there's no form or pattern or anything to this. So we will just have a open discussion for as long as I feel like we're accomplishing something. And then I'll call a halt proceedings.
Okay.
David, is there by any chance? Is there anything you'd like to lead off with? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, so you don't have to.
For data centers?
Yeah.
I
I
would
know you
just,
attended the city meeting or the joint meeting yesterday.
right, I would just say that the public, showed up, and it was a good meeting. I think there's some good information. They're provided by city staff. Both city and county staff obviously provided information about where we are in our regulations and what we can and can't do when it comes to data centers. Both entities need to work on those, I believe. And I think we just heard a lot of good feedback on data centers. The things that the public do not like about them and some of the things that the public do like about them. And I would just mention that county staff is working on potential regulatory changes, which you will see here in the next meeting. Just depends on if we can get some of the details figured out, which we're working diligently on and hopefully moving forward with that. So.
Okay. And Bern and Marov, either one of you, y'all both, as I understand, attended a meeting hosted by someone from the Sierra Club local chapter.
I would
We
like
could go.
to add, I would like to add some.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
To what the meeting last night was about. So as Dave mentioned, sorry, Mr. Burge. The room was packed. Though it was standing room only, and even standing room, it was packed. The room was absolutely packed. The main things that came in the meeting is that within the city limits of Laramie, there is not a really good site for a data center. We are not talking about the University of Wyoming computer, or not even the supercomputer. We're talking about hyperscale data centers. That's a concern of people. And there's just not enough land within the city of Laramie to accommodate a hyperscale data center, which is something that we have known. So basically, the responsibility for regulating the data centers falls on to Albany County commissioners. And why is that? We have the space, and there is a potential loophole in the state regulation, the state statutes, that transfers the responsibility to the county, and that is by us creating a zoning category called industrial park. And in our current statutes, if you have an industrial park in Albany County, you have the right to build a data center, hyperscale data center on that parcel without going through the industrial siting of the state. And that is the thing that caused a lot of grief and aggravation to people in the audience. Most of the presentations that we heard last night were in opposition to data center. Few were in support.
Presentations or comments?
Comments from the public.
Right, yeah.
The staff did not. The staff presented very, as Dave mentioned, very nice. I'll just add something that I heard from Director Smith, the water department, but I'll mention it in a minute. Most of the public comments were in opposition. A few were in support, largely because of the potential revenue and income from something like that. But the main concerns that people, in addition to being concerned about the power, the electricity, the water, discussion of what is a closed cooling system, yes or no. People also talked about the fact that we can't trust these large corporations. People brought examples from other places in the United States and abroad of cases where these corporations lied about what they're going to do, got permits based on that, and then did something else. So there was a lot of stress and aggravation. The bottom line of that, I'm not going to repeat all these. I'm just going to say that at the end of the public hearing, the public comments, City Council, the mayor asked the staff to consider a moratorium. They said that they want to learn more, and they wanted to learn more about what are the implications for the community. One of the things that Director Smith has brought up, and this is something that I have been talking about before we talked about this data center, is water availability and delivery. If you all remember the presentation I gave to you several in April about water problems that we may face, Director Smith said that his concern is whether we will be able to supply water for the city of Laramie if we have data centers coming to the valley. And he said, I don't want to think about this year. I want you to think about the next 10 years. And as Bern knows, I have been very concerned about water and the aquifer, not so much the river, because there are no regulations that can stop any industrial, and it's not necessarily data center, there are no regulations that say, when do you stop drawing water from the aquifer? So we have the overlay zone, and the overlay zone is mostly protecting from contamination. And that's why we put the lot sizes, and the Supreme Court supported that. But really, anyone can go to the state engineer's office and ask for a permit to drill a well and just drain the aquifer down. Now, we have a really nice aquifer, no concerns at the current use. But these data centers are huge, even with closed loop systems. I've seen values that are unimaginable with what we have. And so my next step will be, and hopefully we can discuss that further, is there a level of the aquifer drawdown where we say, stop drawing water for industrial use? It's all going to go to human consumption. But that's in the thing, and Director Smith basically addressed that in his concern. Now, the city can put any moratoriums they want. No one is going to build a hyperscale data center within city limits. So basically this comes to us, to the county, and that's something that we need to discuss and decide on. Do we want to take responsibility for monitoring and regulating a hyperscale data center or multiple data centers in Albany County? Do we have the capacity to monitor noise pollution? Do we have the capacity to monitor traffic? Do we have the capacity to monitor heat? And the truth of the matter is, we don't even have money for our road and bridge. So to add stress on to what we can do, it doesn't seem logical to me. But we need to discuss this further, and that's why I suggest and would suggest to the county commissioners to put a moratorium in the county in parallel to what the city council is planning on, to make sure that we understand what can happen and how can we monitor what happens in an industrial park. Do you want me to continue on what happened the week before or not?
Vern, would you like to say anything about last week's meeting first or not?
So just a couple of thoughts to add, and we don't need to belabor it. One was, been harking back to something that I've said when we brought this first before our commission, is we need to define data centers. So I'm encouraged by the fact that the discussion now are changing the term. They're talking about hyperscale data centers and AI data centers. So I haven't heard clear lines drawn, but I'm encouraged that people who are working on this are cognizant of the fact that, you know, two guys in the bottom with a gaming computer ain't a data center, and we're only talking about the big ones. So that's an encouraging move forward. A question that was asked at the meeting I attended, which I thought was a good one, is if you're going to have a moratorium, you need to decide what you're going to do with it. There's a tendency to just have a moratorium because we're nervous. So I would encourage anything that anyone's thinking about a moratorium, that they be challenged to say, okay, I'll give you a year. What are you going to do most constructively with the year? What is it that you need to have resolved to move forward? So I don't think we should be applying moratoriums casually or kicking the can down the road if we did that at all. And that's what's really missing now and is beginning to mature in the discussion, is what are the realistic issues, both pro and con. The other thing that we hear very little about, that I mean, if we're going to be decision makers, it's balancing, is what do these things bring to the community? Are the tax structures such that they will improve the quality of our schools and our roads and retire our infrastructure needs? Is that realistic? What is it that we're weighing their very real impacts against? And I would not prejudge that their impacts exceed the benefits. We need to research both sides of that equation. That's my only 2 bits worth.
Would you like to add anything about that meeting?
Yes.
And then we'll go around and take some other comments.
Sure, absolutely. So one thing that has been brought up in both meetings is what is called community benefits agreements. And everybody, I think, in both meetings was very much in favor. In fact, in the Wednesday meeting, people came up with a great list of excellent proposals for what, if someone comes to us, what are we going to require from them in order to approve a data center? So I think there is a great progression in that, and people are thinking. And another thing about the moratorium of the city asked, the mayor asked the staff to tell what length of moratorium and what kind of data they need to collect in order to, so that was super informative for, you know, the city is not going to put a moratorium without knowing exactly what data points they're going to collect. I think that's excellent.
I'll make one comment and then go to Greg and Barb for anything you might want to say as we continue around. With regards to city moratorium, I just think it's interesting, given the fact there is no place in the city where a hypercenter can be built. So what's the point? I mean, there might be some point in satisfying some citizen acts, but the reality is there's no hypercenter that's gonna be built within city limits or even adjacent city. All right, with that, Greg, is there any thoughts you'd like to offer?
Just that we need to balance things very carefully on this. I've seen articles that they're gonna put huge solar farms next to the data centers. So the data center's not gonna run at night. And it's just something to think about. We need to not rush into this, places that have had some very adverse effects on their communities. So please think about it, and let's not just do it's gonna be a great thing. We need to think about it, and moratorium should not be no data centers for the next 50 years. It's ridiculous. We need to set a realistic time span of, all right, there's a moratorium for 18 months or 24 months until data can be put together to disprove your theories or your fears, or to prove that it's a manageable problem, whether it's water, power, land, the whole thing. We need to think about this very carefully, and we need to get as much input as we can from reliable sources. That's it.
Barb, you have comments you'd like to make?
Well, I'm all for bringing, economic development into the area, but with caution. So, I'd be concerned about power structure, use of our water resources, and also hazardous waste, which has been some things that the Cheyenne Greeley area have had to, battle recently. So there's real concerns about those structures.
Anything else?
Can I just add something?
Sure.
And the chair is correct, there is absolutely no place within city limits, because what we're talking about right now for hyperscale data centers is 600 acres of building, not even the surrounding area. They build them on 600 and more acres, so there's no 600 acres.
Yeah, that's a square mile.
Yeah, basically. So, so Chair is correct. In a city, a moratorium in a city is not gonna do anything. It's basically the ball in our court.
Well,
I think some public would like to make comments.
I am going to actually first go to someone else. I am noting that Commissioner Jones is here with us. Terry, is there anything you'd like to say?
Sure. I think it's important to note that if we use the industrial siding and we use their option to do industrial park, that park is still regulated by industrial siding. And to imply that industrial siding is not part of that industrial park is absolutely wrong. Industrial siding is in this whole thing through the whole process. Nobody's skipping out on anything. And you need to get your information correct.
Thank you, I will.
I'm going to make a few comments, and then I think, how does the commission feel about taking some comments from the public?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
Mark? Vern,
What's the question?
you might, we'll take a few comments from the public. We do have some
Oh,
public
no,
here.
no, that's fine. If you've
All
got
right.
the time, let's go
Yeah.
for it.
Then I'll make some comments and then we'll invite the public to step forward and say what they might like to say. I've taken in this past month since our last meeting some time to take a look at Industrial Siting Council and try to understand what they do, what sort of options we have in front of us, and what sort of the practicalities of what we're facing are. And I think I have a better understanding now. And Matt, if I say something that you know is contrary to regulation, you can correct me. You will correct me. But here is what I understand to be the case. The Industrial Siting Council and their regulations kick in when a large-scale project over a certain threshold of monetary expenditure is exceeded. Right now, it's between $283 million and $209 million. So something large. And the intent there is to make sure that a large project receives a very careful amount of rigorous, exhaustive scrutiny, which may not be handled or be able to be handled by at least some of the counties in the state that just don't have the staff or the resources to do that. So it is not something meant to subvert county planning and county regulation, but to supplement it, to make sure that this is something good, if something's going to be approved. And ultimately what they do is they would be the ones who issue a construction permit. So that is the one thing that comes away from the county, as I understand it, or the Industrial Siting Council for those projects. But otherwise, all of our regulations, both zoning and other processes, still apply. And they all have to be satisfied by any application that goes forward. Right now, in the county, and here you can correct me, I think there are only a couple of large parcels of land zoned industrial. And I can think of the municipal waste or the land dump, city water treatment plant, the land occupied by Rocky Mountain Cement or Mountain Cement. And there are two parcels of about 200 acres apiece south of I-80, sort of northwest of town, 10 miles out, that were, and maybe still are, zoned industrial, presumably because it's area of oil wells and some production facilities there. And I think that's it in terms of larger parcels. And all of those, I mean, the largest would be those two parcels put together, 4 acres, or in fact, too small for what we're talking about for a hyper scale center or mega center. So the reality is, right now, if a developer walked in the door and said, we want to put up a hyper center, and we collectively, citizens, staff, this commission, county commissioners said, no, hell no, there's nothing they can do. They've got to get approval from us, in addition to whatever happens at Industrial Siting Council. The loophole that exists for the wrong reasons in my mind. That would be if the county were to designate and the regulations to create industrial park, that would actually create a site which is more shovel ready for something happen, which would bypass the Industrial Siting Council, which if you were worried about bad things happening, you would not want to happen. So that would be the kind of thing you would do if you wanted to expedite or speed up some large scale industrial process because you, or for whatever reason. So if there is any, urge to hastily designate some provisions in our zoning resolution to create industrial parks, I don't think that'd be a great idea. And I'll add on 2 other things, which are here too. If someone shows up in the county tomorrow and wants to build a hyperscale facility, they're looking at very, very long lead times. They would have to work through Rocky Mountain Power. Rocky Mountain Power today could not begin to satisfy their needs for redundant power supply. It's a very expensive process. I mean, not these, things like that. I Google, Microsoft, whatnot. I couldn't find it, but it's very expensive. It's not a casual expenditure. And again, it takes a long time to get these things underway and in the works. So I don't think we face anything urgent at all. I certainly don't see that we need a moratorium. I mean, it doesn't accomplish anything because nothing's going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, I'll just emphasize one more time. If you look at the permitting process for Industrial Siting Council, and you go online, you can look on actual permit, you can actually see, like, for instance, the real time permit. You can look at the most current permit, which is just approved, July 13th, whatnot. These things are extremely rigorous. They're exhaustive. They've got to be expensive to put together, very time consuming. There is a time limit by which the Industrial Siting Council is supposed to move an economic permit, but from further reading, I don't know if it's true or not, it is often exceeded. Yeah, I just don't think we face anything urgent that we've got to either do right now or tomorrow, otherwise we're screwed. So with that, I'll be happy. Well, Matt, you want to say something?
Yeah, so I think that there are some clarifications that need to be made about the entire system in general. So wind energy is its own beast. In that instance, the legislature passed a statutory structure in which wind and solar energy facilities, commercial anyway, are concurrently permitted by the counties and State Industrial Siting Council. For anything that is under the jurisdiction of the Industrial Siting Council, 3512-115A states that no local government may require any approval, consent, permit, certificate, or other condition for the construction, operation, or maintenance of a facility authorized by a permit issued pursuant to this chapter. I think that is pretty clear statutory language that if ISC is permitting an industrial facility, local government has no room for asserting its zoning regulations.
Well, I've read something different, and I'll just read you what I've read, and I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm not saying right, I'm just gonna read you what I found. 2 paragraphs. The Wyoming Industrial Siting Council evaluates regional socioeconomic impacts, but a project cannot proceed unless it also complies with all local zoning laws, building codes, and land use plans. And in addition to that, how the dual permitting authority work, compliance mandate, it's not really worded quite right, but anyway, under ISC rules, an industrial facility is only considered design in compliance if it meets all applicable local zoning and health and safety ordinances. And yeah, so.
But that was from the ISC's regulations.
This was quoted from, I guess I'll say just a legal source or legal authority, and not directly from, actually, some of this came from the ISC website at DEQ. So it's a mix of stuff, man.
Okay, because that first part that you quoted, I have not seen that in anything outside of the context of wind.
And then I'll also add, if you go and look, I mean, there's a whole bunch of permits online you can look at. You can see where there are sections, basically a checklist where, things need to comply with local zoning and so on forth, or not. I mean, so it's clearly being looked at.
It's being looked at.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that is a requirement, something that ISC will make a basis of denial.
So I'm saying I believe it is, and I'm also saying I could be wrong.
Okay.
So there's an important qualifier. I admit that, but I believe this is correct.
Okay, well, and secondly, I think that loophole is a bit of a misnomer. Loophole is generally defined as an ambiguity or omission in the text through which the intent of a statute may be evaded. It was explicitly provided, which is the most readily apparent source of the intent of a statute, that non-mineral processing facilities to be constructed in existing industrial parks as designated by local governments are exempt from paying fees or from payment of fees and certification procedures, but shall furnish the information required under statute. So if it takes place in a local government designated industrial park, there is no ISC permit. The only thing that an industrial facility has to apply to or provide to ISC is a description of the nature and location of the facility, estimated time of commencement of construction and construction time, and estimated numbers and job classifications during the construction phase and operating life of the facility.
And I think in this context, a loophole has been used as it's commonly used. If a corporation wished to escape permitting from the ISC, this would constitute a loophole. I think it's being used in that context.
Well, it's explicitly allowed under law.
Yeah. but
So
still,
it's the
yeah.
intent of the law to allow it. It's basically saying that, yes, the permitting shifts fully from ISC
Okay, well, fine.
to the locality.
This would be a way for a corporation to evade the ISC if they didn't want to go through that process.
Yes,
Whether you call
and
it
they
loophole or
are
not.
really
Yeah.
not under the purview of industrial site.
Yeah.
They're under the purview of DEQ for whatever requirements they may have regarding air quality, water quality, anything like that. But ISC is largely out of the picture.
So we're not really disagreeing here.
No,
Yeah.
just points of clarification.
Fine. David,
Yeah, can I just add, just kind of sort of along the same vein, is that even if there's a process to create a industrial zone, I mean, all that does is give the local governments the opportunity to decide whether that industrial park zone goes into effect or not.
right.
So like, if a data center wants to come here and hey, we need to do this, and it goes through the process, the Board of County Commissioners can say, well, I don't want to establish this. I'd rather have them go through industrial siting. So just because there's a process to do it, doesn't mean that the elected officials, the Board of County Commissioners is going to elect to do that.
No, of course not.
So,
My point is, it's just, it puts things a little bit closer in terms of being shovel ready than if it were in place. And if you were worried about nefarious things going on and bribes taking place, there's 3 county commissioners. I don't know how much of a bribe it would take to bribe Terry to approve.
A lot more money than you got.
A lot. I mean, who knows? But that's my point. Do we need it? And I don't say we need it. We're talking about data centers right now. We don't need it. If we want to have a data center, we can zone this land, industrial, if we think it's a good idea to do. But I mean, you can do it also. Rough.
So I understand why we don't want to use the word loophole, but I think that I support Chair Platt's idea that we do not move forward with creating industrial. Even if there is a lot of mechanisms we can use later to stop things that the public does, we work for the public. And if the majority of Albany County residents say we don't want a data center, even if we think it's a great idea, that's not up to us. It's not us we are making the decision legally, but we need to listen to our constituents. And the point is, why make our life difficult by creating an industrial park? Let's go with a harder process where people can have input, when people can tell us what they really want, what they're worried about, us finding out if this, in 5 years, there may not even be cooling systems with water, I mean, the field is moving very fast. But we don't have, I feel that it's our responsibility to listen to the people of Albany County. And right now, and you're probably right, we don't have to worry about actually putting formal moratorium in, but I think we should not make it any easier on anyone.
Matt, did you have something else?
Do you?
I don't think so.
Let's hear it.
No,
Should I have something else?
no.
I'd like to make a comment. Ma'am, please step forward. I'm going to recognize her first.
Thank you. I was at that meeting last night, and I have in the past been supportive of data centers, not hyperscale data centers. But I run the Wyoming State Science Fair, and NCAR and the supercomputer have been supporters for decades of that program. I do see value in smaller scale computing. The climate models that came out of those supercomputers have been fantastic from NCAR and very valuable. But I wanted to ask you today, or implore you today, to really consider the basics that are necessary for the quality of human life, for life in general and for quality of human life. And that's clean water, means water without toxins in it. It means ample water supply, which we do have for the population that we have now, but probably not for growth. It means water that does not have microplastics in it. It means clean air that we can breathe. We had that. We have not had that this summer because of wildfires, but we have had that in the past, and maybe there's a chance that we can continue to have some of the cleanest air in the country. If you consider, I would say, please don't consider zoning any parts of the county for industrial use. Once you open the doors to opportunities, it's really hard to close them. You can't say no as easily. So I think opening our county to that possibility is harmful in the long run. Suppose that door is opened and the possibility is opened, seriously consider strong restrictions, and I don't know at what level you could do this, but strong restrictions that should a data center propose to come into the county, that we require they provide their own water, not from our aquifer, not from the aquifer protection area, water that they find somewhere else, and that does not affect our water that we need to support our community, our life. I would suggest that you require that they produce their own electricity and not from big wind farms like the rail tie, but from solar panels on their own buildings, if they are allowed. Again, I advocate for no industrial siting zoning in the county, period. I think we need to prioritize our current citizens and our current ranchers and agriculture.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Dewey.
Nothing much to add. I think I just want to let you know, I spoke to somebody who runs or works for a data center. The newest ones don't use water at all. Like you mentioned, like they are running on glycol and all those things. So, and then like you said, the solar power they harvest, they do store it and use at nighttime. So I think there are a lot of things like they have backup power and stuff like that. And Wyoming has surplus power, obviously. It's not like energy negative. We always have more than what we use. So I just want to let you know. Yeah.
We currently produce more than we use. When you're looking at gigawatt data
Right.
centers.
No, I'm saying we export power.
We export power now, but data centers.
Yeah.
And
And
the
they,
potential to eliminate that extra.
yeah, but they also have a plan in place because they don't want to have no power and operate like billions of dollars of stuff. So they always have their own source of producing it by solar or whatever. Like they won't just come and say, we'll take all your power or something. So, and I would also recommend, like for the people here in the committee, that if you don't know what you're voting on, I would like you to not vote, but I just want you to go back and learn things or table things, not just make decisions like, okay, I just don't like it, because whatever you're deciding is not going to make anybody's life better if you are doing it without knowing what you're doing. I believe Laramie needs more like businesses to come in. I think we need to increase the economic activity, not restrict things to a point where we are still living 50 years behind everybody else or something. I just want to make sure, if we are not sure, please don't say no. Please say, I don't know or something. I just respectfully request. We definitely all don't know everything about everything, but yeah, I just want to assure you that. I mean, I also want Laramie to grow. It's not like, and like you mentioned, you guys don't have a lot of money. The reason is you're beating yourself up by not letting people to develop anything. Because let's say if somebody invests $5 million and they don't make any money, it's their problem. The county has nothing to lose. But if you are like saying, I won't even give permission to anybody to come to town or do anything, that's a problem. They will go somewhere else. It's not like you'll restrict somebody's growth forever. So
Thank you.
I'll just add that, right now, a lot of governors are putting moratoriums, for example, in Texas.
Yeah.
And, in Massachusetts, they're putting statewide moratoriums until we figure things out. So it's not just us that need to learn, I think all of us need to learn.
I mean, I'm specifically saying at one point, in general, I want you to have an open mind to listen and ask more questions, take your time, and not vote on things in 2 minutes, like, there's no rush here.
Well, thank you. Please step forward. And who are you?
Celeste Tavener.
All right, Celeste.
So I have concerns about the data centers.
We realize you're not alone.
I do realize that.
All right.
The county, most of us are not people who were born and raised here. We came here for the air, we came here for the water, we came here for the open spaces. This is our savings, if you will. I would hate to see us be rash with giving it to someone who has no vested interest in our community. The hyperscale data centers are insane as far as the amount of water, the amount of electricity. I live up in Centennial Valley. This year, the people are taking the cattle off. Their summer rent cattle are off. The wells are growing dry. There is not enough water for us. Why on earth would we bring in something that would take, as far as my research says, 1 million gallons a day up to that? So point being, moratorium, I know you don't particularly like that word, but I also know Marab is dedicated to good research. We don't have to make any rash decisions. And truly, I feel we should do a lot of research before we get moving forward on anything like this. Yes, there is some economic growth per se, but how many jobs?
Well,
And
let
how
me
can
interrupt you for a second.
Nope, you can't interrupt me for a minute.
Yes, I can, because I'm chairman. You continue to talk, but just a question, have we given you any impression at all that we are rushing into something or about to make a rash decision?
No, I'm just telling you my opinion.
Yeah, and were you at the meeting last night?
I was not.
You were not,
So-
okay, well, keep on going. Now,
I don't get to town as much as I'd like to. Point being, I just feel like we can watch these other places with their data centers, with their concerns, with Cheyenne and the water pollution. We don't have to make a decision rashly. And I think that that's why we have you guys in place, is so that you will listen to the people. And down the pike, perhaps it's a good thing. And solar, maybe they can have solar. To be brutally honest, my house is all solar and I have lights and computers and everything at night because they work on batteries too. It's not just a daytime thing. It's a possibility, but once these places are in place, when you say, oh, you know what, we don't have enough water for you to do that this year. I highly doubt that they're going to just go, okay. I mean, the amount of money they have invested for them to have constraints, I would really like to see ironclad constraints if that were a situation. So there you have it.
well, thank you. We appreciate your comments. Please step forward.
Carrie? No, seriously. I promised I
You
wouldn't
already-
yell. I did last night.
You already-
Jenny stays.
All right.
I share the house with my daughter. I share the property. We co-own it together. And I would suggest that in the future, if a data center or any other large scale kind of development proposed to be here, that we say, you pay your own water. You don't use our water. I would like our community put first. You pay your own disposal. You pay your own toxic waste disposal. Glycol doesn't get out of the water. It's not one of those things that you can just put a red dye in and it's gone. It's toxic forever. I would suggest that you're going to bring the problem here. You take the problem away. We're not absorbing your problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, we've made a one round again. Would any of you like to comment any further? Bird, Barb?
Nope.
No? Greg?
No.
Ralph?
I just want to thank everybody who sat through all our previous discussion just to express their opinion. It's highly valuable and we appreciate it. It was heartening to see all the people last night and a week ago, and I think that's great. And one thing that we might consider if we do face a request for a data center of a large industrial site is that we actually circulate a ballot around the county where the information is clear and transparent about the benefits and the costs. And let the people of the county decide. Not leave it to a discussion among my highly respected colleagues or the county commissioners that we actually, this is such a critical and important issue that we actually ask everybody in the county what they want. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, with that, thank you all for that discussion, and we will move on to staff updates.
Can we have a little break now?
We can have a little break now.
Thank you.
Everyone be back in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Social Zoom recording. Good to go? Okay, so our next item is staff updates. David, and why don't you begin with introducing our new staff?
Sounds good.
Since we have some new staff.
Yeah, Jeremy, come up. This is Jeremy Grover. He is the new assistant planner for the planning department. Started
Welcome.
approximately
Like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. July 20th was the first day.
Came from Tennessee to go get away from the heat. I don't know, actually. For a job, probably.
Get away from the humidity.
Humidity. But yeah, so you'll see more of him. He'll be working on some projects. I think he's got a project that he'll present next week. So, yeah. You want to grill out?
Yeah. Thank you.
You have any questions for me?
I don't.
Tell us a little bit about your background. I'm curious.
So this past May, I recently graduated from Middle Tennessee State University, which is in Murfreesboro, you can call it a suburb of Nashville, with a political science degree, as well as a philosophy degree.
Mhm.
And my focus was to get into public policy of some kind, specifically planning. Urban and regional planning has been something I've been interested in for quite some time. And living in Murfreesboro, it has been in the top 50 fastest growing cities in the country. The county is within the top 20 usually. And the region was not at all prepared for it. And seeing the strain on resources and just everything. I mean, the city recently just hired on a couple of additional planners to try to cope with it. But one of the best examples that I saw that they were unprepared for the level of growth that they saw that I want future places to be prepared for is Rutherford County Schools had been opening a brand new high school that was supposed to help keep that school and another one under capacity for 5 years. Both schools were above capacity the day it opened. Because more growth happened, and doesn't seem like that may be a problem in this county from what I've been able to see. But I want to help prevent that from happening just in case.
Very good.
Thank you.
If we have any questions about Nashville, we'll expect you to answer them.
Didn't spend much time there. It was a bit too busy for me.
Real quick announcement.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw, Byrne left a message just saying he'll have to catch up with the discussion later.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I presumed that he was.
The lead is close to 3 a.m. there now.
We're impressed he joined us from Spain.
I know.
So David, why don't we continue with staff updates? Whatever you might have.
So the last application last month that you guys approved was, I think you made a recommendation for approval for the Range Acres subdivision final plat. They were able to get all their information they needed together that were part of your conditions and get it approved by the Board of County Commissioners. So that's all done. Just we're working on a few projects in our office. One of them has to do with the data centers. We're also working on some regulatory amendments for because I think we talked about some of the stuff that we were talking about before everybody bailed on the planning department. So now that we have staff again, we're working on battery energy storage system regulations, as well as the short-term rental. Just some simple regulations there, just for you guys to look at, because I believe that was what we were directed to at one point in the past. So, so we're moving these things forward. So,
Great. Can I just make a comment?
absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I guess I'm not trying.
A lot of people have been asking me about short-term rentals in my campaign. I love to say campaign. So this is great that we are moving forward with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
By any chance, have you heard anything about Heirloom?
Oh, what about them?
Have they actually built anything?
Oh yeah, I think it's up.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
was just curious, yeah.
Yeah,
Is that the experimental wind?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's up. I think I might have got an invite to the grand opening, but I had a conflict or something.
I was
So,
just curious.
but yeah, if you go drive out towards or past Rock River, I guess, see if you can see it. It should look like a
Is that what you say for social
weird
events?
thing going around. And what's
Is
that?
that what you say for
I'm
social
curious.
events?
I might
Yeah,
try
probably.
that.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, do we have any other commissioner comments or we exhausted our comments? Barb, you have anything you want to say?
Nope, I'm good.
Are you sure? We'd like a comment from you. No, that's fine. Craig, how about yourself?
I've had enough comments tonight. I think I'm good.
I'm good, thank you.
Matt, you've got something you'd like to say?
Yeah,
All
I guess probably could have said it earlier, but a few months ago, at a county commissioners meeting, there was a presentation on data center regulation from one of the economic development coordinator for, I guess, whatever Laramie County's Economic Development Coalition. Is it?
Leeds?
Yeah, Leeds.
Something like that. Sharon Leeds.
And we were directed by the commission, well, staff was directed by the commissioners to develop regulations for industrial park permitting of data centers. So we have been working on that for some time, and I think that we'll have something polished enough to provide to the commission or to this commission by the September meeting. Obviously, that is it's up to you what you do with it, but we're following our directives.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what you should have been doing.
Yeah.
So no worries. I'm glad to hear you're doing
Yeah.
what the commissioners asked you to do. All right, that's.
Oh,
thanks for
and
that.
I don't know if anyone didn't hear, it was like right when I got back. So it was July 11th, thereabout. Yeah, that was the day that I was coming back to work after being on paternity leave. The Wyoming Supreme Court, ruled in favor of the county on the APO 2023 APOZ amendments.
I've not heard that.
Oh,
You
okay.
haven't?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's why we have staff updates.
Yeah.
So I know.
I even sent him
Wait,
congratulations.
yeah.
I even sent him congratulations.
they
Let's
found
wait that.
that the protection of the Casper Aquifer through prohibiting land uses and restricting lot sizes is within the county zoning authority. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's
Well,
the big
we'll
takeaway.
acknowledge your great work there.
Yes.
Well,
That's great.
It's a huge
But with
win
that-
and thank you for all the work you put into it and
It,
congratulations.
it restarted or caused to resume from a stay that had been put on Warren Livestock's appeal of the December 2024 APOZ amendments. That was like the big update that we did with the cap update, based on the cap update. And then also the Warren Livestock's declaratory judgment action against the adoption of the cap update itself, and then the boundary amendments that occurred, I think, in January of 2024. So I guess just like anything with the aquifer, nothing is fully settled. But oral argument will be in the district court on that appeal August 30th, 31st, somewhere around there. So that's back to staff updates, but I don't have anything further. Sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry for. Thank you for that. Well, in that case, our next regular meeting is September 9th here at 5:00. And
I will be in Mongolia.
Okay.
And I will not have internet.
Okay.
So just for
We won't put it in.
for quorum purposes.
Yeah.
I will not be available.
And I am